All right, well, listen, we go to our next guest primarily for Eagles because he's an Eagles expert inside the Birds Philly voice, but he's also like Philadelphia sports dude. He can talk it all, and he writes about it all on Philly Voice. His name is Geoff Mosher. What's up, Mosh?
Yo, what's going on? I tell you, one of the most surreal moments in my entire sports writing or sports media career came on NBA first round draft night when I was at the station there, the Fanatic, because I did the draft night show at the Sixers facility with Devon. I can't believe how long ago it was, but the night that they drafted Mikal Bridges and then traded him. And that was the most surreal moment because it was so amazing. A local kid, a kid who was Devon related to.
Correct.
And then they go and trade him.
Remember his mom? His mom worked for the Sixers. She was like crying. She was so happy. And then they traded him for a guy that, what was it? He had an allergy or something, like a peanut allergy or something. Something happened with Zaire Smith.
Correct. Yeah, and he almost died.
Sixers first round picks that just had freakish things happen to him. Yeah.
Oh my God! All right, so we're gonna. Sean and I have declared the process dead. It's officially over, even though Embiid's still there. Do you agree that the process is over?
I kind of think it's been over. I mean, we are so far removed. I mean, I personally thought it was kind of over after Sam Hinkie wasn't welcomed back by the Sixers because you had a total different person or people in charge, and then we've gone through so many different iterations of decision makers. So yeah, I don't think that it even applies anymore.
Morey kind of brought it back for me because he's a process type guy, and he was trying to win with his own. Like Morey was dealt a hand of Embiid, and then he decided he was going to go with veteran players, and it hasn't worked out. But so Geoff, would you consider the process a success? And I guess the real question is, if you could do it all over again, would you still do the process? And don't look at the end result because it didn't end up with a championship.
Yeah,
so that's easy.
Listen, I've gone. I mean, we've done shows on this, right? For as like 2 years into the process, we were doing shows about it. I think that a lot of teams have tanked. I mean, it's not what they did itself was not unprecedented. It's the extreme length of it and how long and the total stripping of assets. And that's where I think, I think Sam Hinkie was not a great drafter. I think that hurt him. I think they had bad luck. So if you're asking me, do I think the Sixers, if they were ever in this position, should they tank like for a year or two, the way the Thunder did, the way the Spurs had to? Yeah. Like that's what, although now it's becoming tougher with the draft lottery. Yeah.
If you could go back to 2015, what was the year when did it start? If you could go back, would you do it all over again? Because other teams have showed you don't need to do that and you can still win championships.
Right. I probably wouldn't because I listen, I understand that that's vacuum thinking. I wasn't a big fan of it. I was a person who tried to see both sides, but I felt like there were too many like worshiping at the altars of the idea without actually having an understanding of what it might look like or who was going to be leading the charge and how it was going to be applied. And then every time something went wrong, it was, well, you couldn't have predicted this. Well, you couldn't have predicted that. Oh, well, you could have predicted that people who didn't know what they were doing were going to botch this, especially with the Sixers and their ownership at the time. And not that it's gotten any better, but it's not like they had a history of great decision-making up front. So, I mean, you could have predicted that things were going to go wrong if you were being fair and objective about it.
All right. Geoff Mosher, inside. Let's get to the inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher. And that's why we bring you on to be an Eagles expert. Do you believe the Eagles are hesitant to pay Jaylen Carter?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that just based on some conversations I've been having over the last week with people around the league, people who know the Eagles, people who talk to other personnel folks around the league. And, from what I understand, there is I would call it a trepidation or a hesitation is the word you look for. But I don't want people to get to thinking like they don't want this guy or they don't value him. There's just a lot of factors involved that go. I know everybody says, well, they don't want him because of the baggage, the stuff at Georgia. No, I mean, there's also the injuries that he's dealt with. He only played 11 games last year. They're deep at his position. They have other guys on offense and defense, especially on defense, that they have to reward in the future. So I think I mentioned this with you guys last week. At some point in the next 12 months, they're going to have to make some unpopular decision, maybe even more than one, too, in order to pay guys who deserve to be paid. They're going to have to let some guys walk or trade guys for assets so they can help replenish. Could that one of those guys be Jaylen Carter if things don't work out? It could be. I wouldn't handicap it here and say it's definite that he won't be back, though. I don't want people to think that. They obviously would like to have him.
Right. But like you said, and it may come down to, all right, he's a great player, but we can get a first and a second round draft pick for him. They pay Jordan Davis. If they want to keep Cooper DeJean, they're going to have to pay him. Quinyon Mitchell, they're going to have to pay him. And I think the bigger thing with Carter is they don't have to pay him yet. He may not be happy with that decision that the Eagles aren't paying him, but I think he's given the Eagles enough reason to say, hey, you're going to wait another year. He came in last year. He came in out of shape. I've heard Bill Colarulo told us on our show that he wasn't necessarily in the greatest shape this year when he came in. So if you don't have to pay him yet, you still control him. Now, Jeff, I don't think you can have him playing on a franchise and it may not be a problem, but they don't have to pay him yet. He comes out this year. He does what he's supposed to do. He shows that he's a wrecker again, and he can stay healthy. The Eagles are going to pay him, but that hasn't happened yet.
That's a good way to look at it, John, but the reason why the Eagles have been so successful in what they do is that they don't do that. They don't do the Cowboys thing of we're going to let you run it out to the end of your contract and make you prove every year, because then if you do that, the guy's price tag goes up. In fact, I think that the Jeffrey Simmons contract may have helped the Eagles a little bit in that Simmons is the best defensive tackle in the game. That shouldn't offend anybody, even the Eagles fans. I know the concept of Jaylen Carter is that he's supposed to be and could very well one day be. And when he's at his best, he shows you glimpses of it. But Jeffrey Simmons has proven for years now he's the best defensive tackle in the game. And he got like $35 million, right?
Yep.
And that's not that much more than, say, like, I think Dexter Lawrence is around 30 to 31, Chris Jones 30 to 31. So if you're the Eagles, you're looking at Jaylen Carter, and you don't have to pay him $36 to $40 million a year because he has not proven to be Jeffrey Simmons yet.
Right.
So in some respects, paying him now might get you the ability to have him locked in at the lower 30s before another DT signs and it gets to 38 to 40 to 42.
But I'm talking to Geoff Mosher inside the Birds. I'll bet you that if he would take 35 a year, they'd already do it. I'll bet you he's looking for more, and that's where the Eagles are saying, like, hang on a second. Like, all right, we love you and we want to bring you back. We're not resetting the market with $42 million or whatever he's asking for. Maybe this isn't like a true negotiation.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think both Simmons and Carter are represented by Drew Rosenhaus, so that also makes it pretty interesting. And it could very well be that the Eagles and Drew and the two D tackles involved, Jeff and Jaylen, we're waiting for the Simmons contract to finally get done before they did something with Jaylen Carter. Who knows?
We got Geoff Mosher from the Philly Voice joining us here, and it's a great week at the Philly Voice, John Marks. You know what it is? It's Dumpster Fire Week with the great Jimmy Kempski. Yeah, that's right. Already fired up the Dumpster Fire Week and kicked things off with the Cowboys. Gotta love that. Today, the Giants. I guess, hey, look, one positive we have is the fact that they had a wedding, and Devontae Smith invited Jalen Hurts, and they were out there cutting a rug and having some fun. So that's good. That's good. Maybe we'll get an article that they actually like their quarterback again. I kid. With that being said, have some fun with me on this one, Jimmy. If the Eagles were to be a dumpster, Jeff. If the Eagles were to be a dumpster fire, what would be the one reason? And I'm taking injuries off the board. Give me one reason, one issue right now that's maybe a little glaring to you that this team could potentially be a dumpster fire at the worst of the worst.
I love how you de-armed me.
Yeah, no injuries. No injuries.
Taking injuries off the board.
That's the easy answer.
That's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Your boy.
Yeah.
But what if that's a good answer? First of all, before I answer that, my favorite thing about the Jimmy Kempski Dumpster Fire series that he does for every single NFC East team for years now is that when he does the Eagles one, every year he gets emails. People are, how could you say this about? It's clearly stated in the top of each story that he does this. He just predicts worst case gloom and doom scenario for each team. It's equal. It's meant to be a roast, and yet people still don't get it. And the Eagles fans get so mad that he actually includes the Eagles in it. But I would say this: I think this defense is amazing. I was going to go with aging on the O line, but I guess you would throw that into injuries. I would just say if the offensive line does not play well, if this new blocking scheme, for whatever, they don't pick up on it well, it doesn't suit them, which I find that hard to believe. I'll give you a second one, though. I'll give you a better one, Sean. They may not be very explosive offensively, right? I mean, Devontae Smith is an explosive offensive player. He can beat somebody over the top of the defense. Who else will beat somebody over the top of the defense on this team?
Quez Watkins, is he still on the team?
Makai Lemon.
Yeah, exactly, Johnny. Quez Watkins and Danny Gray are probably their two fastest wide receivers in 40 time, and you probably were like, who's Danny Gray, right?
Yeah.
But those guys aren't going to make the 53 most likely. But I do wonder, without A.J. Brown, and as they replace him with different players instead of an A-to-A, apples to apples player, does this team have enough explosive passing weapons to make this offense be able to generate 24 to 30 points a game?
Good answer.
Yeah.
I think the first one was even better. The offensive line.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if Landon Dickerson can't stay healthy and he's banged up, if Cam Jurgens can't stay healthy and he's banged up, Mailata played, but he was banged up last year.
And that goes to health. You're right. So I did take that off the board. But even if they're healthy, are they going to reach their potential? Right? Like, this offensive line has to be great. It has to be great.
Lane, but I don't think you can even talk about the offensive line without health. Lane, is he going to be in and out? And that's, Jeff, the Eagles are successful when their lines are their best units on their team. Won 2 Super Bowls when their offensive line and defensive line were the strength of their team. Yeah, and that's their philosophy. So what they did with Saquon, 2,000 yards, I mean, that you can't do that every year. So, yeah, the only way they're going to win is if their offensive line is the strength of their team, for sure.
Remember, Nick Sirianni has 2 basic tenets that he speaks about all the time. We want to win the turnover battle, which the Eagles typically do all the time, and we want to win the explosives, which the Eagles did not do a great job of last year of winning the explosive battles against their opponents. Now, in some games they did, but they also had a really great defense to help them out there, so they didn't need as many. But they took a dip last year in explosives.
All right. You're the best. Geoff Mosher, read him, Inside the Birds, the podcast, and everything else he has going on in Philly Voice. Most great to talk to you, buddy. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great night tonight.
There he is, Geoff Mosher.